Welcome to another episode of the NEL Show. My name is Sage Nell Nkechi Manalayode, and I'm excited to be bringing you this episode. If you're watching us on YouTube, it's a good time to subscribe, share this with your friends, and don't skip it. Don't run away because it's literally one of the next points that you need from moving from where you are to where you ought to be. Today, we are interviewing a very hardworking person, importance, creative, everything in between, the AMVCA8 winner. And we're going to be learning about his story behind his scene. So we'll get Donald on right away so that we can get right into reading his profile. And then we begin because that's what we are here to do, to take it off. Okay, I'm not sure. I think I just saw Donald now. I think I just saw him now. Maybe he went off for a bit. He'll be back. Let's see. I hope it's not my network. Okay. Oh, okay. All right. I can see Donald now. So let me add him to the conversation.
Good morning, Donald.
Morning. I'm trying to get my camera angles.
Okay.
Okay, so this won't work, would it?
No, we'll rather do the portrait, yes, than landscape.
Rather do the portrait. Okay, you know what? Let me step
Maybe
out,
you want
then go ahead to
okay,
make that
I'll
work.
come back. Okay, all right. All right, fantastic. Thank you to everybody that has joins in. And one of the important reasons of having lives is that you have the liberty and even opportunity to ask questions. Unlike an interview that is not done live, you can't ask the person a question. It's only the questions that the interviewer is asking that you can ask. So this is one of the important reasons, especially for the NEL show, why we go live. And even shortly, after
So,
moving his camera to portrait, and then we'll get right
okay.
into it. I don't want to read his profile when he's not here.
I
I
don't know if
want him
you
to be. Yeah, thank you so much for
yeah,
joining. I see Lani.
I'm hearing,
Thank you. I don't want to read his profile
looks
when
like
he's
I'm
not here.
hearing what
I
you
want
have
him to
said
be here.
before.
By the way, we have tons of
Yeah, so
very
yeah,
important interviews that you can
that's
watch on Signal
I don't
TV
do a
on
lot of
YouTube.
live, so I don't know
So
if
if you are watching this one, there are other ones you can certainly watch when you scroll down, of course, and check the list of the videos that we have. One of the reasons why we do these interviews is because we want to help you understand that there's a process to get into where you need to get to according to your live design and according to your live scripting. And if it was
I can hear you.
possible for some of these people that have gotten it, then it's going to. Okay.
I'm hoping this question is in real time. I can hear you though. I can hear you actively.
Okay. Okay.
Can
All
you,
right.
or
Let me just.
can you see me clearly?
Yes, I can see you. It's a bit dark, but I can see you as clearly as possible, regardless.
Mm. Okay, cool. Cool. That works. That works. How are you? Morning.
I'm fine. Thank you so much, Donald, for choosing to do this. Congratulations again. I'm sure for like the 1000th time. We are so excited, and there's a lot we are going to be learning from you from this interview. I'll just go straight into your profile and then we can get right into it. Donald is the AMVCA8 winner for the Best Movie and TV Series with the Jorin Bending movie introducing the Kojus. He's a multiple award-winning screenwriter with the medical drama Strain, which won the Urban Film Festival Best International Movie in 2020. Best Screenplay at African Film Festival 2020 and Best Social Message Movie at the Best of Nollywood Awards in 2021. Donald is co-writer on the highly anticipated Netflix original gritty thriller Shantytown. To date, he has developed over 40 minutes of primetime television as story editor and staff writer on African Magic with several critically acclaimed shows, Tinzel, Dilemma, Enake, Ajoche, and Covenant. He is co-developed and co-wrote Ndani TV's gritty web series Afro City Season 2. He's a bestseller author with works such as How I Fasted on Christmas Day, A Maid's Tale, I Would Have an Affair, Amalevi, and Idara, and the Magic School Bag. Donald is a cross-disciplinary professional with multiple degrees in creative writing, TV and animation writing, cybersecurity and forensic computing, design thinking, and corporate strategy. Okay, thank you so much. And this is just the abridged version of all that Donald is. Of course, this is just his profile. So let's start with the big question, Donald. What was growing up like for you? So that we even understand all of this greatness, how it started to evolve. Was it something, did you have a dream like Joseph in your childhood? Yes, let's start from there. We want to know.
Oh, growing up. Quantify it. Do you mean as a child, like below
Yes,
10? Um,
even before 10.
Okay. Growing up was growing up was not the stuff of dreams. So it wasn't as though I was surrounded by dreamers or greatness or
Hmm.
just surrounded by people who were trying to survive, right?
Hmm.
Primarily my parents. My parents were, I mean, the true definition of hustlers. So they were hustling to survive, right? And I
Hmm.
imbibed that. That was my initial foray on how to survive in this life. To survive in this life, it doesn't particularly matter what you want. I mean, that was my initial mindset. It doesn't
Okay.
matter what you want. It just matters what comes to you. So you deal with life with what life has handed over to you. Like this is what was presented to me at the onset. So I remember at one point where my dad lost his job
Hmm.
because there was this mass letting go of staff, and it was one of those that were let go, and he had to make ends meet anyhow somehow. At that point, it wasn't, I have a dream, I will beat this, I will do this, I will make my mark up. No, it was just, my family need to feed.
Hmm.
Society has thrust upon me this responsibility as a man, and I
Hmm.
have to live up to that billing. And because of that, he hustled. My mom wouldn't also sit still, so she also hustled. And while they were not particularly talking to me about the family circumstances, I kind of figured it out,
Hmm.
and got ingrained in me that conditioning that you don't particularly decide what you want, right? Life plays hardball, and so you just roll with the punches. You're
Hmm.
given whatever it is in your hands. You're like it. There's some truth in it, but later I discovered that you can make demands of life, and then
Hmm.
you can press with those demands and come out of it with something. My upbringing did not give me that particular background. So growing up for me was very very mundane. It wasn't theatrical. It wasn't dramatic, right? I didn't have any brushings or run-ins with greatness, right? What I had, which I think was instrumental to who I am now, is that I had a variety of learned skills that I dropped.
Hmm.
At one point, okay, so hold on. I'm a bit disturbed by the me. I'm disturbed that I cannot even see my own self. I am
Okay,
disturbed. So
you can close your
yeah,
video. You can switch off your video and audio and maybe move to a different location. Yes. Now say is disturbed. Okay, thank you so much for that. Grace is saying, is this one person's profile or all of us put together? Absolutely. Yeah. We are going to be getting into all of the things that he has written, the best films, everything. We're also going to be learning, of course, about the challenges as well. So yes, Grace. The only thing is, I think maybe compared to my own kind of brightness is a bit dark. So he wants to look for a place that is a bit brighter. I think that's the situation of things. Okay, we can, or you can also ask your questions ahead of time. You can drop it in the comments or using the question icon. So that, okay, so that when we get to that, we'll take the questions.
that's really important. Yeah, I can see me. Okay, cool. So then one of the things that particularly helped me, which is only recently that I started realizing the benefits of it, because at the time it looked like I had a problem with finishing things, was that I started a variety of things that I didn't get to finish. I started martial arts, never got to finish. Started swimming, never got to finish. Started mechanic work, never got to finish. Started electrician work, never got to finish. Started doing arts, all right, calligraphy and what stenciling and the likes. I never got to finish, and a host of things. So it's and then also I schooled in multiple places. So I went to three different primary schools. Right, I was in boarding house in primary four. Right, in
Oh,
another state different from my parents. I went to three different secondary schools. Right. So at a point, it felt like, oh my God, I have no roots. I'm
mm,
everywhere. I'm learning all these many disparate things. Um, what benefit is it to my life? And even now, when I even started out with in career, I've worked and served in four different industries to date, right? In
mm.
the technology, Grace Amoka said it sounds like hello Grace. Um, I've worked in the technology industry and field. I've worked in education, in learning and development. I'm currently heavy on, or I'm known right now that I am in the entertainment industry. I mean, the other industries I was heavy on them, but they have a certain um, backroom quality. So you don't know a lot of technology people. You only know a few technology people. You don't know a lot of education persons. So I was in those. Now I'm in the entertainment industry. I was functioning in the entertainment industry. I'm a bit more known than the other ones. But also being in the religious industry because religion is an industry, right?
Mm, mm,
And so taking stock of my life, I see synergy between my past, how I grew up, and where I am now. And because of where I am now, I see the benefits. I then realize that, oh, if indeed the statement is true that the past is in the future is in the past, if it is true that there's a cyclical nature to living, then it means that there were benefits that I did not recognize for in how I was doing multiple things, despite the fact that I appear like I wasn't finishing. What it was given to me was range. And so
mm,
one of the beauties of my childhood was that I came out of my childhood with range, with just range across a variety of fields, range across a variety of industries. Like even in church, I did not
mm,
start. I did not just start off as a one. I didn't start off as a staunch Christian. Um, I didn't start off as someone in one church. I
mm.
was a member of. I've been a member of several synagogue, MFM, um, Catholic. I was a Catholic once. Kingdom Hall, as Jehovah Witness, right? Girl Message, right? Baptists. So what that does for me, which I think gives me an edge in my life. Everyone has an edge in their life. One thing that gives me an edge in my life is range. All right,
Mm,
gives me. I'm a generalist. I'm a
mm,
oh, at is here. It says CFI. Yes, CFI. CFI was Pentecostal, I think. That was in university, right? It gives me range, and so I'm a generalist. And in the world that we are in now, right, generalists will always trump specialists in the long run. But that's on that topic. You asked me how my childhood was. That's how my childhood was, right? Yes.
Okay, no, honestly speaking, I was already enjoying where that conversation was going to. Which, by the way, so it may look like we're digressing, but it's important, especially now that you've mentioned it. You spoke about generalists basically thriving over specialists. I was seeing a conversation yesterday where somebody was saying something about specialists thriving over generalists. I would like you to please continue with that thought. Where do you think that person was coming from, and what do you mean with your own points? I think that's
Um,
really.
oh yeah, so there are several fields that require specialization. What specialization basically is in-depth knowledge about a field, right?
Mm.
Focused knowledge about a field. I don't want my neurosurgeon to also be a TikTok aficionado. Like, don't when you're meant to be reading your books, don't be creating videos on TikTok. Like, know what you're doing with my body, right?
Mm,
Um, but one of the things that general specialization does for you is that it gets you to see the world in a narrow way, right? It gets you to see the world in a narrow way, and so you are wanting and wanting only. And
mm,
there was a time in life, if you look at the evolution of man, especially in terms of knowledge and work, when we started from agrocentric economies to industrialized economies to knowledge-driven economies and now passion-driven economies. When you look at the differences and how things have evolved, you then realize that now more than ever, the problems you have in one industry can be solved by knowledge from other industries. Edges
mm,
are obtained in one industry by knowledge in other industries. Case in point, Steve Jobs built Apple, all right? The Apple laptop was so fine and refined in its look simply because he had knowledge of calligraphy.
Wow.
Simply because, and I mean, he mentioned it that the only reason why the Apple laptop is as finessed as it is at the time it was created was because he had taken a course in calligraphy. The man who is reputed, who I can't remember his name right now, reputed as the progenitor of information technology, right, was only able to program logic as ones and zeros because he had listened or he had knowledge of philosophy where ones and zeros was a particular way of life, black and white. And so he took that knowledge and brought it into technology. So it's not it's not an argument where you say, oh, people shouldn't specialize. It's an
mm,
argument where you say, do not beat on the head those who are multiple skilled. So, for instance, Virgin Atlantic, Richard Branson, right?
mm,
Richard Branson's companies are hardly ever number one in
mm,
industries that they operate in. If you look at the lives of a Tiger Woods and a Roger Federer, you will find out that Tiger Woods was golf from beginning, Roger Federer was multiple sports,
Mm.
right? And a lot of people have taken Tiger Woods' method as the method. Like
Mm.
do that one thing with it. The only thing now is that at some point a Tiger Woods will need to pivot from playing golf
mm.
into other things. And that ability to transition, that flexibility is not something that specialists know how to do. So
It's true.
you have in the Nigerian economy 3 years ago or 2 years back, oil prices crashed. There was massive retrenchment in the oil industry. A lot of people lost their jobs. Now they have to pivot to other things, and so many people do not know what to do because
Mm,
they do not have any other thing they could do. They
Mm.
did not need to be specialists in those other things, but they had no other things. And so people went broke. People now had to start learning new skills. And in the learning of new skills, there was like a lag of suffering where
mhm.
because you're learning, you cannot be earning at the same time, or even if you are earning while you are learning, the earning capacity is low, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
so it's not necessarily a conversation where you say, "Oh, to hell with specialists." Rather, it's a
Mm,
conversation to say, human beings are multifaceted, right? Yes, you need to build the ability to focus on one thing before jumping on the other. But the knowledge across fields, having multiple skills, right? They do not doesn't necessarily mean you're waiting for trouble before you pivot. Can also be
mm,
that in this one industry, for instance, in my industry as a writer, storyteller, producer, I'm able to draw knowledge from education. I'm able to draw knowledge from technology. I'm able to draw knowledge from religion because these are fields where I'm also entrenched in, and everything forms one story that I write, and suddenly it becomes a hit. But you do not realize that it hits because of these multiple influences that are behind me, right? Don't know if I
Yes.
answered that question
Yeah.
properly.
Brilliantly well. Thank you so much. Really answered it. Thank you so much. I'm already excited. Okay. So, the next question is to please take us through your career ladder or your career journey and process, if you will, starting from when you first of all started out your purposeful work in terms of saying, okay, I would work maybe in the cyberspace, I would do this, I'm a pastor, all of those, John. If you could take us from, you could take us how it went through the years, maybe the last 10 years, last 7 years, or even last 12 years before you finally came to this point in terms of writing. And of course, I'm not saying that you're not doing other things at the moment, but we just want to know how you got to where you are now in terms of writing for movies and TV
Uh,
series.
okay, I mean, quite interesting. I think my very first, the first decision that started challenging me towards my very first path was university. What course to read in university? I didn't pick that course. It was my folks that picked the course, and everything has everything has an intangible that governs it. Every tangible. So I'm doing a tangible course. I'm going for classes, 5 years. There's an intangible that is driving that. What was the intangible? My parents needed me to have a have a degree that would guarantee my future, which means have a degree that I can now get into the labor market, apply for jobs, compete favorably, and have money, right?
Hmm. Yes, you're still, it's buffering from your side, but I can see you. Can you see me?
Um, no, I can see you, but suddenly everything is dark.
Oh, okay. I think I'm not sure whose network. Do you want to try leaving and coming back? Because the buffering is showing from your side. I really
Okay,
doubt. Yes,
all
maybe
right,
that will work.
let me try that.
Okay. Okay, please, can you confirm if you can see me, if you are on the side is having the challenge? Okay. If you can, please, I will be adding Donald again. Yes, but if you can confirm if you can see me and hear me so that at least we know that is not okay. Let's see.
We're
All right.
good.
It seems good now. Yes, yes.
All right,
We're
great.
good. Oh,
Okay, so I was saying yeah, I that was the first decision that started, funneling me into my future, particularly, right?
mm,
Prior to that, it was primary school or secondary school. There were some things. There was a particular school I was in where my dad came into a bit of cash, and then he
mm,
thought, what they could upgrade my education, and so they took me
mm,
to another school. But then what happened was, because of the environment, because of the people, it caused me to shrink, right? Because
mm,
surrounded by people who were probably way not smarter, but my interpretation was that they were way smarter than myself, and they were way wealthier than myself, and they were more social. Like, they were just way more alive than I was. It caused me to shrink, right? So that was That was a decision that had an effect which my parents were not even aware of. And it wasn't, it just geared towards my future, just so that I would be in the company of people of that sort and of that caliber, right? But a primal decision was what course to read. Now, electrical electronics. Electrical electronics would not have been my own first choice, and I would not have been able to articulate what my first choice was, because to get into university, it's a it's a tough decision, and it's a decision that you do not just make based on now. So my parents had made decision based on now, based on what was striving. And what was striving there was accounting, medicine, electrical electronics, right? Those were, or electrical electronic engineers. Those were the preferred and sought after jobs, right, in the economy. And so there was no projection that, okay, in 5 years' time, will these things still be viable? Will these things still bring? There was no projection of that sort. So I get into the school, and then I remember in my fourth year, I go for my CWES, and the CWES is this placement. So I go to work in an organization for about 6 months, and I work in an IT security organization, and that was my first introduction into network security, cyber security, cryptography, forensics. That was my first role. It was in 2007. And I remember doing a particular exam which was meant for professionals. I did not know how lofty it was. It was a Cisco exam. I took the exam and I passed it. Yeah, my colleagues were like, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God," and you're still in school. I'm thinking, yeah, so I go back to school and I tell my lecturers, "Oh, guess what? I have this certificate." Like, "Oh my God, oh my God, you have this certificate and you're still in school." And I'm thinking, But that's what now led me to what I did for my master. So after I graduated in 2008, I went straight for my NYC. And right after that, I was to go do my master's. But then my folks, oh no, I asked for a gap year. I said I've been doing it all the while. I'm tired. It's kind of brain draining. I want to get into master's program when I am a bit more equipped for it, right? And so I took 1 year to sit at home and do nothing. So I wasn't, all I was doing was I was just reading, researching, and all that stuff. And that's when I really, really fell in love with reading. That's when I really, really fell in love with the knowledge that comes from just seeking truth out. That's when I really started to think for myself. And so in projecting, I realized, okay, based on where I'm coming from, based on what I know, the next course of action for my master's is to go do something on forensic computing, right? And so I go to do my master's in forensic computing. But fast forward, I did my master's in forensic computing. It was brilliant. It's not one of the courses that a lot of people in Nigeria know about, right? So I have skills that not many people know. No, I don't mean not many people know that I have it, but not many people in the country can do the things that I can do. So I come back into the country from the UK and I started working in a technology firm. I become manager of enterprise security. But then this is now what caused the pivot into storytelling, and where I am. It started back in 2011, 12 when I was asking when I didn't have a job. I was doing my master's program. I didn't have a job. I had to fall back on again range. So I was not in the same position as other people. Now I was able to quote the scripture. Oh, when people say there's a casting at me, I'll say there's a lifting up. Well, I had range, right? So I stayed with. I went back to design because I could do graphic design. I can do graphic design. I went back to design and storytelling, right? I found a certain fulfillment that I did not have in this thing that I spent at the time. I spent like 7, 8 years on. I didn't have the same type of fulfillment, right? I didn't have the same type of projection of what can be, right, in the future. Then I started engaging with some big ideas on what the future holds, what industries will emerge, what industries will stay, and where my place would be in all of these things, right? And I started doing excavation of my own life to realize that where I was, the kernel of it or the foundation of it was not my choice. I didn't choose electrical electronics. I was doing that thing that my parents had unwittingly taught me to do, which is don't make demands out of life, roll with the punches, right? Whatever life throws at you, take and make the best of it, right? It is sage advice. They never told me this thing verbatim. I'm the one that translated years of action into words, but it is sage advice. Yeah, you can't be broken with every time that life hits you from a certain direction, no doubt. However, I got to the point where I'm like, oh, I'm here not by I think I have been making the choices, but the choice was made for me a while back. And I will rebel against that thought, that choice, because that choice doesn't capture the entirety of who I am, right? And at this point, if I were to make a different choice, what choice do I make? I think it takes a lot of bravery and courage for you to get to a point in your life and decide that you want something different.
Mm.
Well, not many people are able to do that because it's counter what we are taught. What we are taught is that when you have a thing, you cherish it, you die with it,
Mm.
eternity, longevity. Um, our parents stayed in jobs forever. Our parents stayed in marriages forever. Our parents stayed with deals and contracts and businesses forever. Like when choices were made, then you have to go the long distance to the very end. I came into a different opinion. I don't have the same opinion. I do believe
Mm.
that a choice is made with this level of thinking at this particular time, and then fast forward years time, in some years time, you are at liberty to decide that I have new knowledge, and now I can make a different choice. I'm not going to
Mm.
disparage on the last choice I made. I'm not particularly going to say that that choice was evil, bad, whatever it is. I'm going to say that at this point, it no longer serves me in this new season of my life, and so I am courageous enough to make another choice. And so that's where I got to. Um, it took a lot of courage. I remember praying hard about it. And I remember one of the things that I again learned because I needed my foundation to be rooted in God.
Yes.
I do believe that doesn't pass, that God doesn't pass, right? My seasons might change, but He is steadfast. So I needed something from Him that when seasons are turning, I can look back on and to give me strength. And one of the things that gave me strength was regardless of whatever choice I make, right? God is most interested in whether or not I believe in Him. So
Mm.
whether or not I choose to stay in technology, I will thrive. Whether or not I
Mm.
to come into entertainment, I will thrive. It wasn't a function of, so I'm not subject to the economy of that particular industry in terms of my ability to thrive. Yes, there could be some lead because of how the macroeconomics of that industry operates, but
Mm.
fundamentally, I do believe I can thrive in whatever industry that I decide to get into. So, which means I remove God from the equation because He's constant with me, and I have to think if I'm to thrive in this industry, what do I need to do? And so
Mm.
once I made that choice, I started working at it. I started working at my transition. I gave my office. I told my office January of of 2018 that I was leaving, but it wasn't a 2 month or a 3 month notice. It was a 1 year notice. All right.
Mm.
But I left December of 2018.
Okay.
So I finished the year with them, but they knew from the beginning of the year that I was leaving. Prior to that, from 2017, I started making a bit of inroad into Nollywood. I started doing one or two things. I think I got into a judge here in 2018. No, I can't be very sure. So I got into a judge here into I think 2018. I joined some particular teaching sessions. There was one hosted by Tatafo HQ, which facilitator was Victor Sanchez Agawa, who is one of the pillars of the industry. And I got to sit I took leave of work, sat at his feet, learned, went to Chris Yidiro's story masterclass, learned also at that, lobbied for jobs. There were days where I slept over in the office just so that I could get work done and not be encumbered by Lagos traffic, right? But then in 2018, I packed my bags out of technology in the format operated in. So which gives a lot of people a bit of, oh wait, are you saying that your entire decade plus in technology is wasted? No, it's not wasted. In the format I knew. So if you look at it from footballers, there a time you can no longer play football, right? But then there are some footballers that are still within the game. So you have some that become pundits. You have some that become coaches. You have some that become backroom staff, right? You have some that become writers, sports writers, and the like. You have some that leave the industry entirely, acting like they were never in the field. That's fine. So I left technology in the form I was operating in, and the form I was operating in was as an employee, right? So I'm still in technology. I'm on the board of one or two technology companies where we get to build solutions, right? But in the form as an employee, 9 to 5, no. I had to transition. And my transitioning, I started from near ground zero. I was not known in the industry. Nobody knew my skill level. Nobody knew whether or not I could do whatever it is I said I could do. So I had to make mouths. I had to brag about my skill, but then in the back, make sure that whatever I'm bragging about, I have the ability to feel it, or I'm able to grind and burn the midnight oil and ensure that whatever I brag about in the marketplace, I can fulfill in my factory, right? So I did all of that. I think pretty much the rest is history. Every other thing is now public. The only other part that is not particularly public is I believe life isn't as difficult as a lot of people make it out to be. I believe life can be lived based on principles, and when we talk about if you follow some particular principles, there's a route I will take. If I'm going to the Palms, Lekki, right? Wherever I'm coming from, there's a particular route I will take. It will lead me there, right? There will be no ambiguity. There will be no mission of your way. It's simply with principles in life. If you follow some particular principles, you'll get to wherever it is you want to get to. And principles can be gotten from a multiplex of places. One of the places I enjoy getting my principles from is from the Bible. And so there was the principle of what you see, you become, or what you fixate on, you become, which was exemplified by the man Jacob when he had sheep, right? He had sheep and goats, and I think he entered into an argument with his employer Laban, and they need to differentiate whose is whose, right? And all he did was that he put a fence before his cattle, and he put spotted and striped fence before his cattle. Now these were plain colored cattle, and just because these are dumb cattle, they are cattle that cannot articulate anything, that do not know anything about how energy transference works, transportation works. They don't know about God. They don't know about Buddha. They don't know about the oceans. They just exist. And he placed striped or spotted and spotted fences before them. And when they meet, so when they are to produce from within themselves, they produce in accordance to what they were seeing. It's basic principle. It's there verbatim, right? And so I employed the same principle where I did a collage of the type of shows, award-winning shows and TV and films I wanted to be producing. I wanted to produce from within myself. And I made it into my screensavers, on my laptop, on my phone, like every single, so that and I'm always on my phone. I'm on my phone on my laptop. So when I open it up, I get to see like a multiplex of shows. Let me hold up. Multiplex of shows that when I enjoy, I want to create something of this sort, of films. And so it's not surprising for me that I've written right now in the ether, I've written 2 films, and 2 of them have been award winning.
Yes.
It's not surprising. It's not oh my god, I'm lucky. And it's no and
I
no.
wasn't expecting it.
It's humbling that I did Strain. I started with Strain. Strain is a medical drama. And I mean, Strain is winning awards in our Urban Film Festival, right? It's winning Best Film. African Film Festival is winning Best Screenplay. And it is encouraging. It is amazing. It is beautiful, but it's not surprising because it's the fruit of a principle being adhered to, right? So that is an intangible that a lot of people do not see. Or rather, that is one of the intangibles that govern me that a lot of people don't get to see. But the results are there. I've been doing quite a bit in the past 4 years since I joined the industry. 2019, 2020, 21, 2022. And it just feels like I have been scratching the surface up until this point, right? And so yeah, I think I've kind of covered 12 years, 11. I don't know how many years I've just covered now.
It's really, anyways, that's why the story is a lot of storytelling, and we appreciate that you are going in depth. Thank you so much, Donald. A whole lot. Some of the things that some people talk about, well, especially young people when transitioning, that they are really concerned for is finance. So they don't really know how to work it out. Okay, so if I have to leave my 9 to 5, assuming I have to leave my 9 to 5 because of the nature of what I'm passionate about and what I believe purpose is pulling me towards, how do I navigate that season? I would like you to please answer that question and perhaps share tips on how you navigated that season, because as simply as you said, it is a big deal to leave your 9 to 5, not because it's a big deal in terms of finance, and then literally start from the scratch in the new phase. And you did share that you were in trainings, and perhaps some of those trainings were also paid for. You also have a family. So how was that? What was the transitioning like for that financially? Or was there some sort of saving and maybe investment that you did in 2018, knowing that you are going to move out? And before Donald answers that, thank you so much. I can see some question on the question icon. We will take it. I just want to encourage you to drop more questions if you have, and when we get to that segment, we'll take all the questions.
Okay. So I learned very quickly. A lot of people think evangelically, which means that you just think it will work out.
Don't worry, let's just do it.
Just do it. It will work out. It can never happen to me. I cannot suffer. Everything will just work out. First, I put a caveat when I was stepping away from my job that if these lay down plans don't get to work out the way I need them to work out, and then by work out, I also define that. But if they don't work out by a certain year, I'm going back to my job. I will swallow my ego, swallow my pride. I will grovel if I need to grovel. I would be under who I was above before, but I was ready for that because the cost of the cost of a dream, regardless of the size of a dream, is the same thing as your life. It's your life. Whether it's a big dream, whether it's a small dream, whether it's no dream, it's the same cost you get to pay your life. Between 2019 and 2022, if I'd remained in my job, it's the same years that will pan out, right? The same cost I will pay, which is my life. Which means you need to take things seriously. You can't just, oh, I want to leave my 9 to 5 and you jump out. Yeah, you need a plan. There's nothing in this life that says your plan will work. But what your plan will give you is that your plan will give you something to follow, a guideline, so to say, like a guideline. Now, in planning, you have to think, but not many. Again, not a lot of people get to think. They just think that they are thinking, or just regurgitated thoughts, right? So you get to think, what is in my bank account? Realistically speaking, how much can I get from this thing in the first year? If I'm not getting this in the first year, what am I doing to ensure that by the next year I make up for this year? What relationships am I building that will help me climb and to cascade my effort? Because I can create in silo and crash. Do I have a time? Do I have a limit, a time limit to this risk I'm taking? Because a risk.
Yeah.
First, there's the sunk cost theory. Sunk cost theory suggests that because you have put in a lot of effort and energy into a thing, you must see to the end, right? And then you hear statements like, "Oh, winners don't quit." Oh, that's a lie. That's a bloody lie. Like if you're tired, tap out. Like tap out. So because you don't have infinite time on earth. I'm trying out this, I'm going on this particular journey. However, if by this time this does not play out the way I proposed for it to play out, right? I will take my lessons and then I will go back and do this other thing. It's different for different people. These were the thoughts I was having. There are some people who go on entrepreneurial journeys where they are like, I will burn all my bridges to the point where I die here. I never had that liberty because, like you said, I have a family. So I don't have the liberty of I die here. Nobody's going to die with me. Do you think no one's called to die with me? Why you die? Why is I die here affecting the next person? I don't need anybody family to suffer because of my decision. I need them to understand that there's a price that will be paid, right? But
Yes.
not indefinitely. Not indefinitely. I need to be able to give a semblance of assurance of a finite date. So I did that in my planning. It wasn't just it wasn't just okay, you know what? Guess what? I want to change industry and boom, tomorrow I'm packing my bags. No. One, I thought through it. Once I was certain I was going to do it, I started planning towards it. There's finance to be planned towards it. My first year was so rough. I did not get good jobs coming. My first year was so rough. I almost went back the first year. I almost changed my entire plan. Almost this life. I'm here for the soft life. I'm not here because there's one story that God has given me that Grace Amoka was here. It's like another person will tell you that story. I don't have that in my bone at all. I don't have that like my bone at all. Oh, it looks like one of say an EE guy. Like it looks like one of my friends. I don't know who Catalyst 2K5 is, but I'm feeling that I went to the same school at Nigeria University. So I don't have that lofty thing. It is about me because whatever you're doing has to be practical. A lot of times when people want to leave their jobs, they stop being practical. They stay in the air with I want to do this. This will be good for me. Elijah, okay, it's my guy Elijah. This will be exactly like a aspire to perspire kind of story, right? But the thing with all the aspire to perspire, if you give me revelation, the thing with revelation must have application. If not, it's useless. If not, it's useless. you just cannot tell me, you can't tell me that you know what? Wealth, all billionaires in this world are creators. They own products. They are product owners. They have ownership. So ownership is wealth. Ownership is wealth. And if you want to be truly wealthy, you need to own things. Now, is there truth in that? Absolutely. But I'm a 9 to 5er. What do I do? I don't own the business. I don't own the company. I don't even own my time. You're exchanging money for my time. So what do I do? Do I just jump out and just be like, oh yeah, let me to go and own products? No, you have to think, and you have to plan. And there is no straight jacket for how your planning should be. So a lot of people ask these questions because they want some one size fit all type of answer to say, oh, this is how you should go about it. You don't need to give 1 year that I gave, right? Because you don't have the kind of relationship that I have with my colleagues and my boss. You probably are not in the same position I was in, that is so pivotal that you feel like you need someone to come in, you need to train the person. You might not have that kind of reality. So if I tell you do 1 year, then that would be a fallacy. What I would tell anyone is make sure you plan. And when you are planning, don't be evangelical. There are multiple ways of thinking. There is the Edward Bono recommended way of thinking where you go round. You do this is to succeed, what is the height I can get to? If this is to fail, why will it fail? How do I mitigate the reasons why it will fail? Right? What do I do on my dark days? Who do I turn to for help? Right? You understand? Who can help me? What price am I willing to pay? Yeah, what price am I willing to pay? Because if I'm willing to be away from my family for a period, then if that's the price I'm willing to pay. I was listening to Kevin Hart recently, was doing an interview, and he was asked about the price he had to pay for his greatness, about he and his family. He's very open about his family, about mistakes in life and all of that. And he said, well, you can't eat your cake and have it. A lot of people get to preach work-life balance and preach in such a way that it suggests on a daily basis. It might not be congruent with what you want out of life. You might be starting at a point where you need solitude for extended periods, right? And if you're not able to think about the costs and decide to embrace the costs, what happens is that you start running your race with another person's shoes as opposed to running with your own shoes. And so all I did was to figure out what shoes I'm going to wear, how I'm going to wear the shoes, run my race where I want to run the race. The next person does not need to understand. My results will get to speak for me. Because wisdom is known by our fruits, not by our action, but our fruits. Yes. And my fruits now show that, oh my God, he was wise when he took that decision. But not many people thought that when I stepped away. And now I have some other things I'm going to do. A lot of people are going like, but again, wisdom is not have fruits because I've not done this thing called life before. I'm just running based on principles and the likes. So for anyone who wants to take that step, plan practically, pragmatically, without airy-fairy things. Yeah.
Okay. You spoke about lobbying for jobs. What was that process like? Is it that you had relationship with people? When you got into the writing movie industry now, you reached out to people even though you both didn't know each other. What was that process like in terms of lobbying for jobs? And if you could share with us how you landed your first writing job.
Okay, cool. So it was both actually. It was both. It was one, the understanding that I can't exchange nothing for money. I can't exchange value. And so my own job is to build my own value, right? One of the ways to build value is proof of concept. Show that you can do a thing. So I'd made one or two contacts before I even left. And
Mm.
I made one or two contacts before I left my job, right? Before I even knew I was going to leave, I knew one or two people in the industry. That was a good name for me. But then when I was in the industry, I'm like, nobody knows me and nobody owes me anything. And that
Mm.
was liberating for me. The best helping hand you can get is the one at the end of your own arms. You are your own best helping hand. So what I did was I need to show the industry that I can tell stories. So I wrote this story, gathered a bunch of my friends, and did a picture story titled A Maid's Tale. And I put it on Instagram. But everybody on Instagram. I don't have distribution channels. I don't have people that are going to push this content. You're on Instagram, you will see it. Um, and that was it. That was it. Everyone, a lot of people saw it, a lot of people engaged with it. It was just one day. What I did was I said, okay, I'm going to split this in 5 parts. Was it six? 5 parts. 9 a.m. I put up a post, put up this picture, right? So I wrote the prose, gathered my friends to act out the prose. But then you take
Mm.
pictures, instead of making motion picture, take still pictures of them in the process of. So for instance, if there's a story that is saying Donald gone with call, right? With
Mm.
Sage Network, right? If there's a story that says that, what's going to happen is that this frame is now captured and put on IG. Yeah. And so
Mm.
now, Grace says that we saw it. What again, a lot of people did not realize was that it wasn't just me testing my muscles. That's a part of it. But me also telling the world that, oh, guys, I do this. Oh,
Mm.
guess what? I do this. And that's how I got my first job. That's how I got my first. So at the time, I was writing on Agile Chair, right? And I got on Agile Chair because a relationships as well. Someone reached out to me, one of my good friends, Xavier, that, oh, African Magic is staffing for this show. Reach out to the head writer. And so I sent the head writer an email. I'd never met her by that time, 20 about this year. Sent her an email. She responded asking me if I have a short film or something that she can read to know my skill level. And guess what? I had it. Like
Yes.
I had it. It wasn't, that's the thing. So it's not just, oh, I had relationships and then boom, everybody opening door for me. I had it on the ready. She read it and she was like, you're in. She had never met me before. She read it and she, you're in. Right?
Wow.
And so while all that was happening, I then do mid still. When I do mid still, there is now Twain then reaches out to me, Twain on Video, reaches out to me to say, oh, let's do this film together. I have this film. Before she reached out to me, her producing partner, she says to her producing partner, oh, this guy told a family story and it was really, really catchy and engaging. Do you know him? Um, uh, is it possible that we get to work with him? Because again, nobody knew me in the industry, so she did not even know me as well, right?
Mm.
And I'll get so it's and I'll talk about luck. Let me just talk about luck a bit. A lot of people do not realize that you have the ability to create your own luck. Because the producing partner happened to be on a chair. And now
Wow.
he was on a chair, he was an actor on a chair. He was not just an actor on a chair. He says that he knew me not again because he knew me physically, but because when he reads my scripts, they stand out. And the
Mm.
reason why scripts stand out is that I pour literally all myself in the script because remember when I talked about the classes I've gone for, they are told
Yes.
me
Yes.
they are told me
Mm.
that TV works. Everyone knows what there's a process to it where by the time it's getting to the writer, a lot of other people have fine-tuned the story where you know what the writer is going to write. So there's little wiggle room to be creative, but that little wiggle room, you need to take it. As the writer, like, you need to create memorable dialogue. You need to make sure that there's something about the script that jumps out. And that's something that I put in was not what made the producing partner agree with the with Tony, that producing partner Benjamin, I agreed with Tony that this is the guy. And they sat with me and then we shook on it. I wrote my first. Meanwhile, I go and I meet Sunday Radeshe on the wrap up party, and she meets me for the first time. And the first thing she says to me is, "Well, thank you for always submitting early," which is another thing. Which is another thing that I learned from, again, multidisciplinary. One thing I learned from corporate with deadlines. And she is the one that now tells Nkiru Njoko of Tinsel that, oh, I hear you guys are looking for writers. This is a writer. And people get to write scripts and kind of audition for Tinsel. But Nkiru says, oh, there's no need for you to audition. Why? Because I've read your scripts. And before I'm having this conversation with you, I read your script and I think that you are brilliant as a writer, right? Uh, so that was like a
Wow.
yeah, that was like how these things were happening. So it wasn't a, oh, I just have relationships, right? When there was a lull in the jobs I was getting, I decided, you know what, I need to reach out to larger market, tackle something bigger by myself. So Mate's Tale was written one day. All right, so I put up the post 9 a.m., 12 p.m., 3 p.m., 6 p.m., and I think 9 p.m. was the last. And the idea was write a captivating story so solid that people would come on IG for your story by the designated time. That was the challenge to me, because I'm like, if I can surmount this challenge, the next person is going to see that this person is good. Because I wanted to work in film and TV. I needed them to know that I know about the tonnage of story, which I was doing on the back, and I was in the dark. I'm building this capability.
Mm.
I tried to take on a bigger challenge. I said I did make stay, which was just one day. I would tell a story that will span 7 days. So that on day one, people are going to come 9 a.m., 12 p.m., 3 p.m., 6, and then 9. On day two, they will repeat the same thing. They will keep coming back. And my ability to hold them was very, very critical to me. My ability to hold them up until day 7 and leave them satisfied that I didn't just, for a period, I didn't just come to Instagram to look at other people's lives. I came to read something. And that's why Insta blog, Danja, Gist lovers, Leader KG, they will always thrive on IG, because other than them, I'm just looking at pictures. After a while, I'm like, oh, my life is not like this. I don't want to even see this thing again. But when I'm reading gist and stories, keep
Mm.
me keep me
Yeah.
engaged. So my challenge was, do this for 7 episodes for 7 days, translate that to say 35 episodes of TV, run with that in your mind, in your head. If you can surmount this, you can. What will happen is that what you put out in energy, what you put out without saying anything, is
Mm.
that you have the ability to do this thing. And so I did that. I did that. That was part of
Hello, can you hear me? I think my network went off for a while. I need to add Donald again because my network went off for a while. So I have to. Okay, I think Donald is calling. All right, so Donald is calling, but if I pick his call, it would affect this live. If I pick his call, this live will go off. So, okay, I've texted him now on WhatsApp. I've done that. So he's coming back now. I don't understand because I'm using the best network, but I thank you so much for your patience. Thank you so much, Mommy Mo, for being here. Thank you, and for your comments. All right, let us get back to the conversation. Okay, Donald. Yes, Donald, sorry about that. It was my network that went off
Oh, yeah, no
abruptly.
problem.
So I
No
just had
problem.
to restart it. Yes. Do you remember where you were when I went off?
Oh yeah, I was pretty much I mentioned the fact that I'd taken up the bigger challenge, right? To
Yes.
say, oh, this is the next step. I want to work in TV in this capacity, right? And so
Yes.
I kind of need to tell the universe that I can do this. Um, Again, principles. Like if we extract the principle from the Bible, right?
Donald,
Joseph,
your volume is a bit low. I don't know if you can.
is it low still?
I don't know why it's low.
Is it low till now?
Yes, it seems so. Maybe it's from my phone.
Ah,
It's
because nothing has
okay
changed at my end.
at your end. Okay, maybe it's my phone. I think will be good. Maybe you just
Okay.
continue.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
I probably would project a bit more. So
Okay.
yeah, so at the time when when I decided, you know what, I want to take up bigger challenge, taking the
Mm.
principle again from the Bible, when you take a Joseph who was to take up the big challenge of national poverty alleviation or a strategic solution on a national level, just something grand. You need to do something less grand, which is prison work, right?
Mm.
That catapulted him to that. That gave both him the confidence and those around him the confidence. And so I needed to do that. So as opposed to doing the story for just one day, which I had done with Mate's Tale, I took up I Have an Affair, which was now 7 days, which was a wild ride. But again, what he put out there was that I have the ability, right, to put myself to the grind to bring out this type of product. And then
Yes.
I have the skill, which is needed in storytelling, long form storytelling, to engage, in this case, readers, right?
Mm.
Across multiple episodes. Because if I what I did was I took 9 a.m. as an episode, 12 p.m. as an episode, 3 p.m. as an episode, right? So these were practical steps that I took, and even now where I am now, I'm at
Mm.
a point where it is, oh, what's the next step, right? What's the next step? Where am I stepping into? What's the in my trajectory? I don't particularly call it career. I just call it my trajectory. What is
Okay.
the next direction I'm taking? Am I furthering this direction? Am I pivoting into something else? If I'm furthering this direction, how do I position myself for the next? Because you can grow in two ways. Growth is natural if you keep doing. My kids don't need to do anything for them to grow. They just live life.
Mm.
They'll grow. And so I
Yes.
don't particularly need to do anything for me to grow in my trajectory. I'm already on the journey. I will grow, right? However, I can make the growth, I can facilitate the growth, make it faster, make it richer, make it more boisterous, make it more adventurous, make it more entertaining if I take some particular steps. And so that's pretty much what it is. So to summarize the answer to your question, which is how did I begin, right? In terms
Mm-hmm.
of relationships and the likes, yes, I did have the
Yeah.
relationships. When the relationships were opening doors for me, I was ready to step in. And then beyond that, I took practical steps to make sure that beyond the people that I knew, because there were people I did not know who could help me, I needed help to reach
Mm.
those people. And the help I needed was to let the universe know that I have the ability, the willingness, the readiness to do these things that I'm making demands of. Hence the things I did on Instagram. Yep.
Thank you so much, Donald. And one quote, of course, it's not like you it was intentional to make it a quote, but one quote that I've taken from this conversation is the cost of a dream is your life, amongst many other important things that you have
Yeah.
shared, like navigating if you're starting out in a new industry, what lobbying can mean and how to go about it intelligently. Thank you. So
Yeah.
I'll ask a two-in-one question. I'm
Okay.
looking at the time so that we also stay within range. I would like you to know, like you to share with us rather, what was your first script like? If you could take us particularly through that process, I really like that. And the the B part question to that is, what is your writing process like generally? How do you get inspiration to write such good movies? Of course, it's because the movies are so good, and we know that you're not writing so that you get the award. You're just writing because you are good. But how do you get inspiration to be that good so that any upcoming movie producer, writer can also learn from you?
Um, I don't. There's so I have some particular things that I can do to be inspired, right? But I think generally speaking, be curious. If you're curious about life, if you're curious about life, if you truly enjoy life,
Okay.
if you truly enjoy life, then you would have ideas for storytelling. Now, when I say truly
Mm,
enjoy life, it's not necessarily enjoys the ins and outs and the activities of life, but even in the emotions that come to play in life, right? The emotions that come to play in life. So, for instance, traffic is a major problem, concern, issue in Lagos State, in some select
yes.
parts of Lagos. Um, imagine if you had a imagine if you had a woman who is pregnant, who is meant to go to the hospital, but because she needed to do something in the house, she did not leave her house early enough, and now she's on her way to the hospital, and now she's stuck in traffic. And then you have the person driving is her husband, right? And he is panicking. And when they realize that, oh my God, you need to give birth in the car, he then stops in the middle of wherever it is that they are, opens the doors, and you do realize that if when some particular people will see this drama unfolding, they'll bring out their phones. When some other people see the drama unfolding, they will roll up their sleeves to help. You will have some prim and proper people come to help. You will have some not very prim and proper people coming to help. Yeah, but in all of that, would you be able to? Are you excited about the new birth? About the fact that a baby is one of those things that brings smiles to everybody's faces. if you're just you're just curious about it, curious about something of the sort, you come up with an idea. It's not like, okay, if you want to get an idea, go to the mountain, cross your leg, enter lotus position, do kumbaya. If you're just genuinely curious about life, like curiosity shows up in multiple places in ways. You can be curious and then what you're a reader, or you watch documentaries, or you watch movies, or you read fiction, non-fiction, newspapers, magazines, what you just want to do, or you read Insta blog, you read Diary of a Niger Chick, you read Linda Ikeji, right? You just want to know about life. You are just interested. I believe that anybody who decides to create materials that connect emotionally needs to be ready to explore their own emotions. So when I was creating Strain, right, which is answering the B part of the question, or maybe the A part of the question, Grace and Akumbaya works. When I was when I created Strain, there was a father who now society society has given us the roles in family, where the husband is this, the wife is this. So the husband is the provider, the wife is the homemaker, is the one that takes care of the children. What happens if we flip that? What does it do to the psyche of the man if his child is sick? He feels the impotence has come upon him because he cannot what's this thing called? He cannot provide for the child, right? And not only
Yeah.
that, he cannot provide for the child because he doesn't have a steady paying job. And so now he is the primary caregiver. What kind of friction? And so for me to be able to tell that kind of story, I had to, what about if it is me, right? Objectively, how would I feel? And my conditioning, my original conditioning is patriarchy. That's my original conditioning. It is education and knowledge that is now tweaking that, making me more of a feminist, right? Because patriarchy is anti women's rights and it just subjugates the women, and that is my upbringing. That's the upbringing of a lot of the younger generation who are now in our age brackets, right? Where it's skewed, and unfortunately, the school, the church are primary education centers or indoctrination centers for man, which is why in the colonization of Nigeria and Africa, the church was very, very important in strategy for the colonial masters, because indoctrination is very, very one of the most potent tools, right, is religion and the church. And unfortunately, the church has joined in perpetuating the lopsidedness of the relationship between man and woman. And this is now exacerbated by society, right? Which means if I do not explore, if I'm in that situation, I do not explore what this means, it means my natural reaction will be bile. I'll be upset. When I'm upset at myself, I feel shame because I cannot provide for my son. I feel anger that's my wife that's providing. I feel some sort of resentment towards even the child, that I'm in this position, not because of you, but again because of you, right? And my ability to put myself in that position helps me tell a more engaging story, right? So that if you are not willing to explore your emotions as an individual, it's tough for you to be able to create what is going to connect. It's very, very tough. What you're just going to be doing, you're going to be telling me things that are just happening. Okay, this happened, then that happened. Oh, hold up. How was he feeling? How was he thinking? Why did he react this way? Why did he react that way? So I knew this early on, and when I worked on Strain, it was a case of every single character I need to know how they are going to react. I need to understand their emotional states. And that was more important to me than that was important to me in the same veracity as what are they saying, because what they are saying. So, for instance, at a certain point, the daughter is told, "Oh, you are the one to rescue your brother. You are the one to donate your bone marrow," and the girl says, "No, she's not donating. It's not my bone marrow. It's your bone marrow. She's not donating." But I don't want the audience to think that this is a bad child, because again, I don't. I am the type of person who says there's good in everyone, um, and people have the potential to do bad things, right? Doesn't label them as bad people. You need to label the person as a bad person. It just goes beyond one thing the person does. It has to be a lot of many things rolled together, right? And so when this girl makes this choice, I don't want the people to think, I don't want everybody to say this is a selfish decision. I want people to be able to empathize with her, to understand where she's coming from. They might not like it, but know where the girl is coming from, right? So before, for me to want you to know that, I need to know where she's coming from. I need to understand her emotional state. I need to understand, oh, okay, this is how this has been affecting you. This is how this entire period, this is what you have been feeling. This is how you have been enunciating it in either words or actions. This is how it has been affecting your daily life. All these things rolled together to tell that kind of story, which is why it connected with audiences worldwide. It did not matter that I sat on this desk to create it. It did not matter. Yeah, what just mattered was that emotions are universal. The reason why you will watch a Korean drama and you are swooning at love in a language you do not really understand, with culture that you are not familiar with, is because you innately recognize the emotions at play. And so if you are a writer, your tool of trade is primarily emotions. Your tool of trade is primarily because that's what you connect with, right? If the Indian wedding, the Indian weddings, I don't know the culture, I don't know the custom, and so I do not know if I don't know if they will have like a large bowl of rice and everybody is taking from it. And I'm thinking, oh my God, why? I don't know that. However, if in that, I know why one of these guys does not want to take something, right? I don't want to take. I know why, because from an emotional standpoint, I've connected with him. My knowledge of the culture notwithstanding, I recognize the emotion, right? So as a writer, your tool of trade is emotions, and I recognize that early. And also, if you watch Introducing, which is on Amazon Prime, Strange is on Netflix, Introducing Coach is on Amazon Prime. Even on that, even in Introducing Coach, the same thing. So it's the same thing of the whole family that is in disarray. I don't want you to say this is the bad person, this is the good person. They're just in disarray. They have problems, right? I need you to understand the problem, understand where everyone is coming from before you take sides. Don't take sides because you like this one's face or this one is more eloquent than the next person. Take sides. A wise judge hears both sides, right? That's again a principle in scripture. So as a writer, as a teacher, as a communicator, your tool of trade is emotion, because that's what connects. That's really what connects. Aristotle postulated that there are three things that connect. There's emotions, there is logic, and there's credibility, which means I'm on this call because I have the credibility. I've shown something for a long period. You asked me a question about planning, right? And I use logic to answer, so not airy-fairy, right? So you need these things even as a writer to be able to connect, even as a communicator, even as a teacher, as a parent. But what is universal? Because the thing about logic is that logic can be trumped by more logic. So you might have a point of view, and then another person comes with a point of view from a higher perspective or a higher plane, and you're like, okay, I see how that works now, right? So all you know is not all there is to know about a thing. So logic can be trumped, credibility can be enhanced, right? Credibility can be enhanced, but emotions are emotions.
Yeah.
Emotions are emotions. Raw emotion is raw emotion. If you capture a person who is going through grief, you have captured the person who is going through grief, right? Emotions are emotions. And so, while I can argue logic, I can say your credibility. So, like, bring your secondary school certificate. I'm going to argue your credibility. When it comes to emotions, your emotions are emotions. And so, as a writer, should you want to communicate, you need to understand, again, from the Bible. If you notice, I like using the Bible from like a text, right? And it talked about faith, love, and hope. These are three things that you need on your journey as a just as a person, as a believer, as a Christian, whatever. You need these three things. Of these three things, it says love is the greatest. So in emotions, logic, credibility, of these three things, emotions is the greatest. So as a writer, as a communicator, teacher, parent, leader, emotions. And let me end this with this. It's also the most difficult. That's why you don't have a lot of it coming out from our climb, because we have not allowed ourselves to be emotional creatures. We've not allowed ourselves to cry when we need to cry. Because I remember one time when I was crying and then someone saw me, I'm like, stop crying, stop crying. Don't you know you're a leader? If they see you, my tears dried up. Um, the same thing. You don't have. We're not raw to our emotions. We pander to the ideology that emotions are for women, or rather the outpour or the show of emotions are for women. And then the only emotion that is acceptable for a man to show is anger, right? We say that is what it is. And so you will not particularly find a lot of men or people, because even when you say emotions are for the women, or the show of emotions are for the women, you will also have the ideology that berates women for showing emotions. And so if you have a woman who is showing the emotions, you're like, put yourself together, because the emotion is a sign of weakness. And so we are in a culture that holds down and clamps on emotions and doesn't allow you to express your emotions. We're in that culture. And that's an intangible, because it's a conditioning. And this conditioning, the thing about intangibles is that they always find a way to show up. Always. Always find a way to show up in your tangibles. You can't run away from it. A lot of people think that they can run away, but thoughts are things. You cannot run away from these things. Now, if I am ideologically, I am averse to the outpour of emotions, by the time I create a product, the product is going to lack the rawness of emotion that will make it vulnerable. Because I, the creator, am not even vulnerable in my own emotions. So because I will know it head knowledge, I will know that this person is to cry. I will know head knowledge. However, because it's not my experience, I don't have the seal of recognition for it. It's now going to look, it's not going to enter into your depths, which is why sometimes you will watch a character cry and like, why is this one crying now? Why are you crying? But there are times when you watch some particular films or TV shows and the character doesn't cry. The character receives news. The face looks bland. But because you know where the character is coming from, because you have connected, the character has been vulnerable. You know what is going through that person's mind. You know the emotions that are warring against that in that person's being, and you suddenly are just feeling conflicted, and you're sad. Because that person is sad, right? So in writing my first script, in writing whatever it is I write, I lean on emotions, right? Because
Okay.
I do believe strongly with all the things that I've said that emotions are the tools of engagement for the writer. Yep.
Okay.
All right. I think I have maybe two or three more questions, maybe less, and then we'll wrap up. And regarding writing, although
Yeah.
you shared with us about your trajectory, because we're not calling career ladder, we're calling trajectory. I would like to know at what maybe point or age did you know that you were good with writing, and how much have training helped? Would you say the refined skill that you have now is has a lot to do with training, or it also has a lot to do with the fact that you are good and gifted with it, and training is just an added advantage?
Um, so I fear for the question. The reason why I fear for the question is that there is the there is the notion that there's a school of thought that if you're not born with it, you can't have it. There's a school of
Mm,
that if you're not born with it, you cannot have it. I've
mm,
met truly gifted storytellers, right? Um, and I've met really gifted storytellers. I will not place myself in that 1% category of people who are extremely gifted storytellers.
okay.
Yeah. I've always loved writing and storytelling, even when I was little. It's not what I've always actively pursued. But then in 2011, 2012, I now started really, really writing. But the thing about the thing about training and ability is that regardless
Mm,
of your ability level, training can make you out into a genius. Regardless of your innate skill, training will make you out into a genius. And I think that's the take home from that. So it's not a measuring balance. Oh, okay,
this
you
or that.
train versus
Mm,
no, regardless of your starting point, training is going to take you to places that your innate ability will not, to make you out into a genius. The kind of training that I get to then do, and I would not necessarily, I won't say I recommend, I would say this current training I do, is that
okay.
because of where I'm coming from, um, I do blocks of seasons in my life. There was a season in my life where I was always just reading books, right? I got to a season in my life and I wanted to do this where it was just TV series and films that I get to watch. And so a lot of my friends sometimes ask me, "Oh, have you watched this?" I'm like, "Oh no, I didn't used to watch TV series back then. It's just now I started watching TV series and films.
Mm,
I'm entering into a phase now again, or a season right now again, where I'm transitioning back into books,
mm,
right? And when I read books, I mean, I'm reading widespread, and that's training in a certain form. That's training in a
yes.
certain form. There is also the training which is specific to the industry, where you learn about your industry. Yeah. So I'm not particularly going to advise that you do this skill versus this skill. Just understand the principle that regardless of where you're coming from, regardless of whether or not you're a natural gifted storyteller, regardless of as to the age of discovery, right? Tiger Woods discovered his giftings at age of 3, or rather, Tiger Woods' father at the age of 3. That's when he was able to. I think at the age of 4, he was able to use the club which was taller than him, yeah,
Mm.
to win adults, right? Which was just a ridiculous feat. Um, just a ridiculous feat. Meanwhile, Roger Federer did not find tennis till much later in his life. In fact, before he found tennis, he went around the sporting world. He was just an athlete, just went around the sporting world. And so it is now counterintuitive to now tell a person, oh, use this age as a criteria, use that age as a criteria, right? Some other people have postulated some other theories, like Malcolm Gladwell, who postulated the 10,000 hour rule that says, okay, at 10,000 hours of pressured work in a particular industry, you become a master. There is that. So there are multiple things that you can justify whatever step you want to take, but what you should know is that training is going to make the person with innate abilities look like a genius. So it's now left to you to decide, how are you going to train yourself? What disciplines are you going to train yourself in? What books across board are you going to read? And the type of writer who doesn't only read books about writing. In fact, the kind of books I read have nothing to do with writing, right? I'm reading books about whether or not democracy can work in Africa, not because I'm political, or not because I necessarily air political views. I'm reading books about the book I'm currently reading, Range, right? I'm reading books about the history of the world. I'm reading books about warfare. I have nothing to do with writing in particular. I'm reading books about strategy. Not nothing to do with writing in particular. However, it's training because the source of your writing is your mind. So work your mind. If you work your mind, you're able to produce. And that I think is the takeaway. If you're able to, the mind is like a muscle, you can work it. If you work your mind, then you're able to produce the type of content that people can resonate with, right, at a high level. So there's no hard and fast rule, which I will avoid giving, because a lot of people get to look for hard and fast rules so that they can adhere to, we're all figuring life out together. We're all figuring life out together. So it's best to run your race using the shoes that are meant for you, which will come when you look at your own situation, your own life, and decide how you're going to run this particular race. Yeah.
Okay. So from what I got from you, there are at least, maybe not limited to two kinds of trainings, which is some more like the formal one you went for, the story, some of the ones you called, and also the one self-training of reading books and all
Oh,
of that, and maybe others, or watching TV series and so forth.
yeah.
Okay. Um, Donald, would like you to share at least one challenge that you have gone through. I'm not sure I can see you. Can you hear me? Oh, please, I want to. Please, can you hear me if you are on this call? Because I am not sure, and I would like to be sure. It's coming from my side. Although Donald has left the call, so maybe it is his network. Okay, let me try to add Donald again for the we're in the concluding part of this. Okay, thank you so much, Ogechi. So I assume it is Donald's network. Let me try to connect with him. So that yeah, okay, probably because one time it was my own network, so I just wanted to be sure. So let me try to reach out to see what is going on. Perhaps network. I don't think he's here yet. Okay. Okay. Oh, Donald is back. All right,
Hi.
Donald, I think your maybe network or so it just went off. Thank
Yeah.
you for coming back.
Yep.
Yes. So you were, I was asking, oh, okay, I'm not sure. I was asking about the challenges, one striking challenge you have experienced in this industry, and then how you overcame that. And that's the final question for today. Let's see.
Um, I've not overcome the challenge yet.
Okay.
The challenge is how to get wealthy. I've not overcome it yet. When I overcome it, I'll tell you. I've not
When
overcome.
Donald started with, I've not overcome the challenges, I was really like, ah, okay, let's get our virus.
Because all I will tell you now is head knowledge, and I'm not very comfortable just sharing head knowledge. It's just a case of, you know what, by the time I have the results to show for whatever moves I'm making in this present time, right? Then I can say, oh, okay, you know what, in this industry, this is the way I pivoted. These were things that I did, and this is why I'm now wealthy enough to have freedom, because that is my definition of what wealth is. It's not. It's just freedom. It's just me. I'm free to do things. If indeed money answers all things, then it will answer. It will answer all things. Literally speaking, it's not an ambiguous statement. Right? It's not an ambiguous statement. But the point is that it's a challenge. It's a challenge for writers globally, but specifically, it's a challenge in Nollywood, where in terms of wealth for the writers, we have not yet cracked the code for how the writer would end up wealthy, right? And well, not crack the code for how the writer would be sustained by the of their own mind, by the creation of their own doing. You have not cracked that particular code. Yeah, there are pathways you can take in getting to that point, right? There are pathways you can take because there are people who have taken some particular pathways, right? Um,
Yes.
but I personally think that I'm able to speak with a bit more confidence when the my own chosen pathway yields the type of results that I can now point to and say these were the intangibles that produced this tangible. So yeah, that challenge is still ongoing.
Okay. Donald, we have a question from Grace. She
Okay.
says, based on the conversation on shrinking in a type of school environment, what would you, okay, I'm on school selection by parents. Should their children, should they send their kids to school at their level? I'm not sure if this question is for this, but Grace, you can
Oh no, I get the
signify.
question. I get the
Okay, you
question.
get the question.
Yeah,
Okay. Perhaps
because
it
there's
was what
something.
we spoke about way earlier.
Yeah, there was something I mentioned that there was a school that my dad put me in, which caused me to shrink at the time. Um, so it's not a. I don't think. I think it's important to put children in schools that you can also afford the commensurate lifestyle that that
Mm,
school demands, right? So that because it's tough if you put a child in a school that is tough. Now this is practical. It's very tough to put a child in a school where they use chauffeurs to come pick the child, right? Everyone uses chauffeurs. It is normal, but your child has to go and jump bike, right? And so what is normal, your child is unable to meet up to what is normal. So it's almost it's congruent with the ideology that don't live beyond your means. it's pari passu with that particular ideology, right? Do not go trying to. It's not as though your money cannot buy a thing, but can you maintain the thing? So it's not like you cannot probably buy an S class. You can maybe scrape money to buy the S class. But when you buy the S class, if an Okada jams the lights and lights should break, for instance, are you able to replace it?
Mm.
Are you able to fill your fuel tank on a weekly basis? Do you understand? So that is a commensurate. It's the TCO, which is the total cost of ownership, which is the total cost required to get the child this education. So what had happened was I was put in a particular school, and at the time my parents were unable to afford the commensurate lifestyle. So what I was getting was the education because I was in class. But every other thing,
Yes.
it was difficult to near impossible for me to get them. So if the students have to go for a particular excursion to a particular place, it's difficult to near impossible for me to join them. And if I don't go on that excursion, what then happens is that when they're having conversations in class, I'm unable to join them. And when they are forming bonds, and these bonds translate to lifelong bonds, and when they are learning the soft skills and all those things that help you later on in life, and I'm unable to learn them at that stage, right? And so that's like the service you do to a child. When you put a child in a place where what is normal, the commensurate lifestyle goes beyond what you can afford. Yeah, so pretty much, yes, that's what it is.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. We already did your rapid fire question in the previous episode, so we're not going to repeat it again. Have you got any final words or anything you want to share as we close out? Maybe anything, a quote, just anything. Well, you've shared a lot.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So I don't think I have final no final words jump to mind right now, really.
Thank
No,
you so much, Donald,
my
for your
pleasure.
time, for everybody that has joined us. We're so grateful. And we're looking forward to your new projects and, yeah, the interesting stuff that are going to come out soon in other aspects of your life. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you very much for having me. Bye.
Bye.